So, our topic, emergence of new states, and among these states we first going to discuss about the old Mughal provinces. The old Mughal provinces. It is in page number of your NCERT book, in page number 142. So, open your history book and follow. So, though what happened after that, after the when the declining process was started in Mughal Empire, the states that was previously under the dominance of the Mughal, they started declaring their freedom. And at the time when the Mughal ruled, all the states, we can divide the states into three different categories at that time. Number one, the states that were old Mughal provinces, that is the old Mughal provinces. Number two, it is the states that enjoyed considerable amount of independence under the Mughal, called Watan Jagir. I have already told you when I have discussed in chapter number 4 about the Akbar's military expedition, that what is Watan Jagir. The Jagir was mainly two types, Tankha Jagir and Watan Jagir. Tankha Jagir was the land granted, the revenue of the land granted as a salary. This is called the Tankha Jagir, and Watan Jagir is the number 2 type. So, those territories actually captured by the Mughals, but all those territories again returned to their old rulers, but in terms they had to pay a certain amount of revenue after every year, okay, and they had to accept the superiority of the Mughal emperors. So, this is the Watan Jagir. So, the Mughal provinces, the Rajput provinces, those have accepted the Akbar's superiority or other Mughal rulers' superiority, they got the Watan Jagir, such as the territory of Ambar, the kingdom of Ambar, Rajput state, was also accepted the dominance of the Mughal, and Akbar married the daughter of Ambar Raj, and so as per the treaty, they actually got the Watan Jagir. Okay. So, this is the Watan Jagir, and number 3 states, the last group included the states under the control of the rebel groups such as the Marathas, Sikhs and the Jats. So, these were of different sizes and had seized their independence from the Mughals after a long drawn armed struggle. So, I can mention them: rebel groups, of state, including the Shivaji's Maratha kingdom, as well as the Jat kingdom, as well as the Sikhs kingdom in the Punjab region. Okay, some questions are there. Okay, students, the question answers of these chapters, no need to necessarily giving the answer. I will give only the short questions, because your examination will be conducted through online method, same as the previous exam. So, that is why I am not giving any big question, big answer. Only I will give you the short question and answers tomorrow. Okay. And another thing, read those chapters carefully, because most of the questions, but all the questions will come as MCQ format. And chapter 7, that is okay. So chapter 7 in geography I have already discussed. Chapter 7 you already uploaded, and I have discussed the different parts, you can check it. And another chapter, that is the chapter number 9, those have old NCERT geography book, that is not part of our syllabus. So the life in the desert, that is the last chapter. So we have already discussed the first unit, the life in the hot desert Sahara, and tomorrow I will give you the life in the cold desert. That okay, I will take the class about that subunit. Okay. So listen what I am discussing today about the different type of kingdoms. So first one, today we are going to discuss about the old Mughal provinces. That among the states that were carved out, the old Mughal provinces in the 18th century, and three stand out very prominently among those all the Mughal ruled provinces. Those have Subadars. See, these are Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad. And all the three states were founded by members of high Mughal nobility, administrators, and who had been governors of large provinces, such as Sadat Khan ruled Sadat Khan ruled the Awadh. He was the Subadar of Awadh, and Murshid Quli Khan, he was the Subadar of Bengal, and Asaf Jah was the Subadar of Hyderabad. So all three had occupied high mansabdari positions, such as the Asaf Jah and Murshid Quli Khan held a rank of Jat 7,000 each. The Jat rank of each of them is 7,000, 7,000 mansabdar they were, and while Sadat Khan Jat was 6,000, and Sadat Khan was a 6,000 mansabdar, means 6,000 cavalrymen maintained by him, and 7,000 each cavalrymen maintained by Asaf Jah and Murshid Quli Khan. So they are obviously very high nobles in the Mughal court. So first we are going to discuss about the Hyderabad state. That Hyderabad state was the founder of the Hyderabad state was Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah. Once he was one of the most powerful members of the court of Mughal Emperor Farrukh Shir. When the weak rulers were ruled the Mughal capital in Delhi. So Nizamul Mulk, one of the most favorite and powerful noble. He was entrusted first with the governorship of Awadh, and later he given the charge of Deccan and transferred to Deccan. So as the Mughal governor of the Deccan provinces, Asaf Jah already had full control over the political and financial administration. He also got its political and financial administration. At the time, three posts were there. One is the Fauzdar, the head of the military in the state, head of the administration of the state called Subadar, head of the revenue administration of the state called Diwan. So he also captured the three different posts together, and taking advantage of the turmoil in the Deccan and competition amongst the court nobility, he gathered power in his hand and become the actual ruler of the region. When turmoil condition in the Delhi and in the Deccan also, in Deccan at the time was very disturbed place, because all the southern sultanate they also started declining, and Marathas and Mughals are fighting every day, almost several small fights in different places in South India. So in this situation, when Mughals are busy with the Marathas and other enemies, then Asaf Jah and slowly increased his power. And Asaf Jah brought skilled soldiers and administrators from northern India who welcomed the new opportunities in the south, and he appointed those mansabdars in different part of the Deccan and granted Jagir. Although he was still a servant of Mughal emperor, he ruled quite independently without seeking any direction from the Delhi, and Mughal emperor merely confirmed the decision already taken by the Nizam. So, he no need to take any decision, any permission from the Mughal emperor while taking any decision. So, that is why he completely enjoyed his freedom. So, the state of Hyderabad was constantly engaged in a struggle against the Marathas in the west, and with independent Telugu chiefs called Nayakas in the Deccan Plateau region, and the ambitions of the Nizam to control the rich textile producing areas of the Coromandel coast. Textile producing areas of Coromandel coast in the east were checked by the British, who were becoming increasingly powerful in the region. He also checked the power of the British, who were actually established their factory in the Masulipatanam and the Coromandel coast, the region situated on the, this is the South Indian map, this is the Eastern Ghat mountains. So, the patches situated on the east of Eastern Ghat mountains, this is Masulipatanam, and this is the state of Hyderabad. It's a huge area controlled by the Nizam. Next one, it is the Awadh. Awadh was actually ruled by Subadar Burhan ul Mulk Sadat Khan, and he was appointed in 1722. So, Sadat Khan appointed in 1722 as a Subadar of Hyderabad, and it is most important to emerge out of the breakup of the Mughal empire, and Awadh was a prosperous region controlling the rich alluvial Ganga plain and the main trade route between North India and Bengal. It is situated in the most fertile Ganga Yamuna alluvial plain. I have already told you in geography class that region, and a huge amount of revenue also collected from that region, as well as it is situated in the middle of the trade route of North India and Bengal. He also held the combined offices of Subadari, Diwani and Faujdari like Asabja, and in other words, he was responsible for managing the political and financial and military affairs of the province of Awadh. Burhanul Mulk tried to decrease the Mughal influence in the Awadh region by reducing the number of office holders or Jagirdars in his region appointed by the Mughals, and he also reduced the size of Jagirs, those actually got Jagir in his territory, in his Suba. So, the accounts of Jagirdars were checked to prevent cheating, and the revenue of all districts were reassessed by officials appointed by the Nawab's court. So, I have already told you that those got Tankha Jagir in his land, he reduced the area of the land. Tankha Jagir means they have only the right to collect the revenue, they do not have any right on the land, only right on the revenue, but he also decreases the amount of revenue or land. So, and also transferred most of the Jagirdars from his territory, because he wanted to seize power in that region, and he also appointed accountants to check the revenue collected by the Jagirdars. He seized a number of Rajput Jamindari in that region, and the agriculturally fertile land of Rohila Khand from the Afghan chiefs. Some Afghan chiefs also ruled at that region as a Zamindar, and some Rajput Jamindars also. So, he also captured the lands from them with military power. So, the state depended on local bankers and Mahajans for loans, and it sold the right to collect tax to the highest bidder. You know the bidding process, who gave the, at the time, who gave the consent that I will give you the highest amount of revenue at the end of the year. Through the bidding process, they got the right to collect revenues from the Awadh Suba, and these people called revenue farmers who got the right to collect land revenue from the peasants in the Awadh after auction, and local bankers guaranteed the payment of the contracted amount to the state, and local bankers also, they also came up to pay the amount instantly, and they also gave loan to the revenue farmers or ijaradars. So in this way the new class of people also emerged, are developments, and the revenue farmers were given considerable freedom in the assessment and collection of the taxes. Once they contracted with the Sadat Khan that I will give you 1 crore, suppose 1 crore after 1 year. So then they have the right, full control to collect whatever the amount they can from the peasants. They have the right to collect whatever amount they can from the peasants. So in this way the people earned huge money. Suppose they contracted 1 crore after 1 year, but they actually earned 10 crore. So they also put that money, kept that money on some bankers, and lot of money lenders also emerged. So those bankers and money lenders actually lend that money again to the peasants in terms of high revenue, high interest. And in this way the total circle of money can be seen in that region. And the to new influential the management of the state's revenue system, something which had not occurred in the past. So new classes like money lenders, bankers also emerged in this region, in Awadh region, in the time of Sadat Khan. And students, the last date of submission of project, you prepare your project within this month, it will be announced the date of submission of the project. Yes, Monisa, I can see your messages. First, listen to me. Let me finish the class first syllabus, and then you can ask me all these questions through e-portal. Okay, so no need to ask questions here. You have the e-portal. I have already answered a lot of questions in the e-portal. So if you have any question, so you can ask me in the e-portal. First, listen this class what I have discussed. It is just for you. It is, and the last chapter is most important. It is the most important chapter, and it is not so easy. If you will not read this chapter in next class, in classroom you will not understand anything, because right after this chapter everything will start again. Right after this, history not a thing that I taken some part from here and there and assemble and present in front of you. It is a continuous process. You have already started it from class 6 and you will finish it, the Indian history, in class 8. Okay, so after that we will read the world history. So it is a continuous process. So listen to me and try to understand. If you have any question, you can ask me. Now next one, it is the Bengal. I will finish with the Bengal today. That Bengal gradually broke away from Mughal control under Murshid Quli Khan, who was appointed as the ninth deputy to the governor of the province. And although never a formal Subadar, Murshid Quli Khan very quickly seized all the power that went with the office, and like the other rulers like Hyderabad and Awadh, he also he also commanded the revenue administration of the state and also collected the military power, also earned the military power. And in an effort to reduce Mughal influence in Bengal, he transferred all the Mughal Jagirdars into Orissa. And the Orissa's lands were not so fertile, but though they were transferred to Orissa, and ordered a major reassessment of the revenues of Bengal. He reassessed all the revenue system of Bengal, and revenue was collected in cash with great strictness from all the zamindars. Zamindars were the people who collected land revenue from the people of Bengal, and then the Murshid Quli Khan also collected land revenue from the zamindars. This is the revenue administration structure. So as a result, many zamindars had to borrow money from the bankers and money lenders to pay the high demand of revenues of the state, of the Subedar, Murshid Quli Khan. So those unable to pay particular amount of revenue, they were forced to sell their lands to large zamindars, and in this way the formation of regional state in 18th century Bengal therefore led to the considerable change amongst the zamindars, and the close connection between the state and bankers notice in Hyderabad, Awadh and Bengal as well. And this relation also increased in Bengal when, after the death of Murshid Quli, when his son was on the throne, Alivardi Khan, a general, also killed him and captured the throne in 1740. And during his reign up to 1756, the banking houses of Jagat Seth, it is a title, a family banking houses of Jagat Seth become extremely prosperous. Those have visited the Murshidabad, they have already watched, already toured the places, and you can see those, the houses of Jagat Seths, the prosperous bankers at that time. So, what are the three major similarity between these states, all the Mughal provinces? Later on we can see the similarity. Three similarity. First one, though many of the larger states were established by its erstwhile Mughal nobles, they were highly suspicious of some of the administrative systems that they had inherited, in particular the Jagirdari system. So, they were very much suspicious about the other nobles, mainly those appointed by the Mughal emperors, and that is why they have transferred them into different places, and they are very much they are not so happy with the Jagirdari system. The distribution of Jagir at the time occurred in Mughal Empire. Second thing, that their method of tax collection was different. Rather than relying upon the officers to collect the tax, all three regimes contracted with revenue farmers or ijaradars to collect land revenue. Okay, so this is another measure, and thoroughly approved by the Mughals, spread all over India in the 18th century. Their impact on the countryside differed considerably. Number 3, they have good relations with the bankers and merchants, and these people lend money to the revenue farmers, receive land as security and collected taxes from these lands through their own agents. And throughout India at the time, the richest merchants and bankers were gaining the stake of new political order. So, three different features. Number 1, they are highly suspicious some of the administrative system, that are Jagirdari system. So, they believed that the Jagirdars were the spy of the Mughal emperors, and to decrease the influence of the Mughal emperors, they transferred all the Jagirdars in some other areas of the state. Number 2, they had contracted with revenue farmers or ijaradars, but previously it was the revenue of the state collected by the Mughal officials. Number 3, they had good relations with the bankers and merchants, that was not seen before, and people also lend money from the revenue farmers and these merchants and bankers, and receive land as security and collected taxes from these lands through their own agents. Okay, so these are the main features. So, now if you have any question, you can ask me, students. Among this, the first one, the old Mughal provinces, the 3 different states. If you have any question, you can ask me. Ayantik, any question? Okay, Sanya asking something. Okay, thank you all. So, no problem, I think. If you have any problem, you can ask me in the e-portal also. Feel free to ask anything, no problem. And your date of your submission of the project, as well as, okay, so, and your examination date also published, will be published in your e-portal as well as our official website. And the short questions, you have to read the chapters carefully. The short questions will be published on the next weeks when we revise the chapter, revise those chapters, each day one chapter. Okay. So thank you for watching. See you in the next class with the last subunit tomorrow. Bye everyone.